Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Edward sent me notes. Steve, check out the story from North Carolina from WNCN. Mary Smith wrote it. Order for arrest issued for woman accused of filing false deed on multi-million-dollar North Carolina home. Talked about this several times before, how easy it is to file fake paperwork on a home you don't own to make it look like you do. And it got particularly bad during that issue we had back in 08, 09, where the housing market kind of tumbled a little bit and there were a lot of unoccupied homes. I think it became a lot more common then, but it's still happening. It's still happening. So a Wake County Superior Court judge issued an order for the arrest of the woman accused of filing a false warranty deed on a multi-million-dollar home in Raleigh. And this is one of the problems, and that is that quite often people do this, and then when they get caught, they just kind of disappear and nothing ever happens to them. But here a judge has actually said, no, let's have her arrested. The woman's charged with attempting to obtain property by false pretense. And again, if someone steals your stuff, they steal your widget, whatever you might have, that's not good. But when someone steals an entire property with a home on it, it somehow seems odd that you can do that. But she's accused of filing a false document on the home, which was owned by a man who's a dentist, of all things. And she's alleged to have done this last year. Now, she was supposed to show up in court on Monday for a scheduled court appearance. In February, a Superior Court judge directed her to present herself for a forensic evaluation by March 3rd, or she would be arrested. The evaluation was signed by a district court judge months earlier. Reading between the lines here, somebody is thinking that perhaps she's got some kind of issues that mean that either she doesn't know what she's doing or she doesn't quite understand the legal process or something. And so just to clarify that, they want to have her examined. She's got to present herself for that, and she didn't. And there's a court order saying that she was supposed to. So since then, the local forensic examiner has communicated with us, said they had spoken with her, and it wasn't that she, missed a meeting or anything. I think that she communicated to them that she was not going to submit to the forensic evaluation voluntarily. So I believe that she's got excellent notice, and at this point, she's violating a court order. And that's an assistant district attorney speaking. So keep in mind, the notice is quite important, because if somebody doesn't show up for court or show up for something, and they go, I didn't know about it. Well, I've mentioned before, due process requires notice and an opportunity to be heard. Now here, it's notice to show up for something and presumably participate in this examination. But her defense attorney says she spoke with the defendant here just days ago about the scheduled court date, since she did not appear in court on Monday, and the prosecutor indicated the forensic evaluation had not been completed. The judge set her bond at $500,000 secured and issued an order for her arrest. So if you watch any of those videos on YouTube or TV of people being arrested and charged and arraigned and all that stuff, quite often they'll set your bond and say it's $500 personal. That literally means you can walk out the front door without putting anything up. No one puts anything up. It's just that you personally will have to pay $500 if you don't show up. However, when they say it's got to be secured, it means that you literally have to either put up the money or put up collateral that's worth that money. So that if you don't show up somewhere down the road, they've got something to snag and make you pay for it. So $500,000 secured is kind of tough for the average person to come up with. I've heard of cases before where somebody's on trial for an extremely serious crime, and a judge will say $500,000 secured, and they'll put up their house, or a relative will put up their house. And now here's the thing. You got to have a lot of faith that the person you're vouching for is going to show up for court. Because if they don't, and you put up your house, bad things can happen. In recent weeks, online records show the woman's filed a series of documents in her case, one of which indicates she's asking for the case to be dismissed. And I've also seen that a lot, too, online, where people come into court and the judge will say, what's your name? Do you understand the charges? And the person will go, excuse me, yes? I asked this case be dismissed. with prejudice. Okay, denied. Anything else? Yes? I object. To what? Your denial of my request to dismiss the case. Okay, your objection is noted. Thank you. Anything else? Yes? I asked that this case be dismissed, and I've actually seen somebody ask like 20 times in one hearing. And eventually you want to yell at your computer and go, stop asking them. Just stop calling on them. Just when they have their hand in there, just ignore it because you know what they're going to ask. You just ignore it. But the other thing I was going to tell you about this is that the order for her arrest. I've known people, and I've been involved in cases where someone doesn't show up for court, and it's something small. But they're supposed to show up. A judge will look at the clerk and go, was the defendant notified? And the clerk will go through the file and go, yeah, they got this thing. And I've also seen where the attorney shows up, but their client's not there. And it puts the attorney in such an awkward situation because you don't want to throw your client under the bus. But also, if you're there and they're not, and they were supposed to be there, it makes you look kind of bad. And I've seen a judge say, counselor, where is your client? And I've seen an attorney go, Your Honor, give me a minute, I'll step out in the hallway and make a phone call. They come back in, they go, I'm sorry, I couldn't reach them. But they can't come out and start saying, well, here's what we talked about, and I got the impression. No, because that's all privileged. You can't do that. And so I've seen it before where an attorney just walks in and goes, well, Your Honor, I couldn't reach them. And, and the judge goes, fine, I'll issue a warrant for their arrest. And I've probably told this story once or twice before. But I had a case once where I got a judgment against somebody and they wouldn't pay it. They didn't appeal, but they just wouldn't pay it. So I served them with a subpoena for a creditor's exam. And I actually had it served, I believe, by a court officer of that court. In other words, I didn't have it served by my process server. I went through the court. Sometimes you can do that too. And so the process server gets the person served, returns the proof of service to the court. And so I go to court the day of the creditor's exam and the person doesn't show up. The judge waits an hour, and finally the judge calls the case on the record and says, Mr. Lehto, I see that you're here. Has the defendant showed up yet? And I said, I don't think so. And the court clerk goes, no one's checked in, Your Honor. Judge goes, I will issue a bench warrant. I'll issue a bench warrant. And I go, okay, thank you. And I kind of forgot about it, and I didn't really think that much about the case. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but it was, it was money. And a few weeks later, on a Friday afternoon, I get a phone call. Judge's clerk out of that court. Hello, what's going on? Yeah, the police in this other jurisdiction nearby picked this guy up. They pulled him over for a traffic infraction. And when they did that, the warrant popped up in the system, and he's been arrested, and he's sitting in our jail right now. So the guy got served with a notice that says, you must appear at this courthouse on this date to submit to questioning by plaintiff's counsel regarding your assets and bank accounts and so on and so forth. And he chose to ignore it. And right on it, it says, if you do not appear, bad things can happen to you, including a warrant being issued for your arrest. And he chose to ignore it. Live dangerously, my friend. So I've known people who've had warrants outstanding like that for months and months and months and months because they don't interact with the police. This guy made the mistake of doing something in traffic that caught the attention of the police. I don't know if it was an illegal turn, speeding. I never talked to the cop. All I know is the cop pulled him over, ran his information, goes, oh, it's an outstanding warrant for your arrest. Step out and handcuff the guy and brought the guy to the police station. So I said to the clerk, I said, what do I do? And she goes, can you be here Monday? And I said, yeah, I can. She goes, well, we're going to hold him all weekend. And I said, really? And I look at the clock, it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I go, oh, okay. She goes, there's nothing else we can do. And she goes, and we're not going to let the guy go because he won't come back. And you have to understand, and I know a lot of people, the only thing you know about court is from watching, People's Court or stuff on television, which is not the same. And if you sit in a court for a couple hours on a random day, the stuff you see day in and day out is just bizarre and interesting and strange and unpredictable. And I mean, the stuff you see is just, it's all over the place. And the number of warrants I've seen issued for people's arrest because they didn't show up, I've seen quite a few of them. But all I can tell you is the following Monday, I went to court. I think they open at 9 a.m. So I'm in line. I get in at 9 o'clock, go sit in the courtroom at about 9:05. The judge comes out and hits the bench. And then I see a little thing going on over here, and they bring a guy in handcuffs. And they call my case. And they go, Mr. Lehto, here he is. We go in a conference room, under oath, ask him a bunch of questions, and we were in and out in 15 minutes. But because he skipped the hearing previously, he got himself arrested. So here, this woman is not in court when she's supposed to be. She apparently has an attorney, but here it's not that she skipped court. She skipped a forensic exam that had been ordered by a court. And because she didn't do that, they've issued a warrant for her arrest and set her bond at $500,000 secured, which I suspect means that when they do pick her up, they're going to hold her until they're done dealing with her legal issues. So, Edward, thanks for sending that from WNCN out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Mary Smith wrote it. Order for arrest issued for woman accused of filing false deed on multi-million-dollar North Carolina home. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. I've never faked a sarcasm.